Do. Hey, there we go. Are we recording? It looks like we are. Okay, I guess we are. Hi, everybody. It's James B. My vodcast today, Ian Shaw, is going to be my guest. I love this guy. An actor, a singer, a hell of a singer, piano player, producer. Just an amazing person, an activist. We're going to talk to him right now. I don't know why I like to do this. I like to do this live. It's so exciting when I get to actually touch this button and watch him appear on the magical Zoom screen. So here we are. Any moment now. I'm feeling lucky.
Can you hear me?
When I said feeling lucky, I just meant like that I'm going to see your face.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, you need to see me.
Can you click on your camera so I can see your handsome face?
Yes, I don't quite know how to do that with this.
Why is this? On the left of the screen, there's a little button, little camera button.
I got you. Start video.
Ta-da! There you are. Hey, boy, do I ever miss you, Ian Shaw.
Miss you too, James B. I've just interviewed Susan George, the actress, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
From the 70s. Lovely. We're almost the same age. We both love Susan George. What was the interview for?
It was for the Ronnie Scott's radio show, but we're going to do it in two parts. We do a show together where we mess around on stage, and she talks about, being double fucked in Straw Dogs, and I make her sing some songs and things. But of course, because of Cockdown, we couldn't really do very much. So it was the 2 nights in the West End were cancelled, unfortunately. How the fuck are you? Where are you sitting?
Oh, I'm in my bar. I'm in my living room.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it's got lots of stuff. Look, it keeps going and going. Oh, there's my fan. But you know what's weird? So you just mentioned Susan George getting doubled on Straw Dogs. You just threw that out there.
Yeah,
that's a pretty amazing story.
Are we taping?
We are. It's an amazing story. I love it.
Yeah, but that's not to be, because darling, you're Canadian, so.
Well, anything edited for mainstream, for normal radio, but the Zoom stuff is a little extra fun.
Do you want this?
Do you want
this? Do you want? I don't need this, do I?
Nope.
I'm just on the iPad here. What I'm going to do is just get my gay lead, my long lead, and I'll just show you some London.
Oh, beautiful!
I know how much you love London. There, look, a London phone box. A London ambulance. Any minute now, there'll be a London bus. I live on a main drag. There's the bus. There you go.
Now, are you in the same place for many years?
Yeah, same name. I've got a bigger flat here, so I'll take you around.
Yeah.
So there's a kitchen. There's Jamie Saphir in bed. Oh no, he's ironing. Hang on.
Hello.
That's Jamie Saphir, wonderful piano player.
Hello.
I love your jacket.
James B.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful to meet you.
The James B.
I'm ironing. I've got a gig tonight. I'm trying to get the creases out.
Uh-oh.
Wish me luck.
You've got the white shirt. You could join Paul Anka's band.
Yes, you could.
Happily. I played his arrangements. Brilliant.
So listen, I'm just going to get my lead, my gay lead. Where is it? There it is. Talking of double fucking, darling. When you finish the ironing.
Oh God, I've got a little bit of sick in my mouth.
Okay, so now I'm looking at your place. I'm getting dizzy, but it's kind of fun.
No, I'm going to settle in a minute, because this is a visual thing, isn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a room full of art, that's for sure.
That's Molly Parkin. That one. That's Joni Mitchell. That's Jean Shrimpton, the model. You have a
Joni Mitchell painting?
No, it's of Joni Mitchell.
Oh. I was
that's
whoa.
Craig Aitchison, that one there. That's by Anne McGill.
Wow, beautiful.
I'm not in touch with Ross Porter and Denise. What's going on there? Is it?
No idea.
No idea.
No, I haven't heard anything at all. No.
He offered me free tickets to something, but It was Brian Ferry at the Royal Albert Hall, but I can't think of anything worse than Brian Ferry singing jazz, so I didn't go.
Right. The early days of Roxy Music were quite fun. That's about
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly that.
Last time I saw you was in New York City. That Kurt Elling, the Big Blind, right? And Guy Barker was there with the big band.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of but I've spoken a lot to Kurt Elling during lockdown, and I've seen a lot of Guy Barker. Yeah, that was astonishing. That was a very intense couple of shows, wasn't it? Yeah, you came and hung backstage with Barbara, the lovely Barbara. I like her.
Barbara Lica, your biggest fan.
Lica. Barbara Lica.
You guys both write a lot of songs, but let me ask you about your songwriting, because it didn't come for a while, right? You were doing acting, you were doing cabaret, you were doing jazz, but your own music didn't come till later. Was it Life Jacket? Was that the first one?
Yeah, I mean, I've always written songs, but I've never really thought of myself as a songwriter. Growing up with, Elton John and Leonard Cohen and Bowie and Stevie Wonder, I just thought, I can't get anywhere near this, Yeah. And then things happen in your life. You become a little older, you become certainly not wiser, and I wrote from experience. And the first song I wrote for that album was 42, which was the age that I was at the time. So the hook is "Let's Stay 42." Like, we don't want to be any older than this, surely, or younger even.
We bonded over that when I first met you, because I love that song, and I'm 1 year. I think I'm 1 year older than you. I think I stayed 42. I stayed 42 for 8 years.
You were 13 when you stayed 42.
I just decided like 42 was a perfect year for me, and I thought that I'll be that age forever. And then when I hit 50, I had to own it, because I have a lot of friends who were much older than me saying, you got to own your age, and you'll inspire people to have fun and stop acting different.
Yeah. Well, people say, age is just a number. It's not. Things drop off. Things dry up. Things leak. You become rattier by the second. My friend's just going, that's true. So I'm very realistic about, I'm coming up to 60. I'm 58 years old, so I'm the wrong end of 50 or the right end of 60. I don't know, but there's nothing we can do about it, darling.
No, I think you're right. And we don't have to age gracefully, fairly gracefully, but not completely gracefully. No.
Was it? I think it was Hermione Gingold, wasn't it, who wrote the book "Growing Old Disgracefully"? She sure did, right? Yeah. So songwriting. I've kind of written some songs recently as people. You either bake bread, lose weight, gain weight, drink. And I wrote a song called "We Stopped Talking" about London, inspired by the great Robert Elms from BBC, who wrote a book called Memoir of a Shape-Shifting City. London Made Us. It's called London Made Us. So I wrote a song inspired by that, and also inspired by the homelessness situation in London, which is kind of, typical of our government. They say, oh, we'll give you this, and then we'll take it all away again. Yeah. So at the moment, we are in a terrible state with the kind of so-called easing of lockdown, which is so politicized and so complex for everyone, really. Right. But the homelessness situation is, there they are. You're literally stepping over these poor people who haven't got a cat's chance in hell,
Right, and you're very political that way. We've had conversations about you're going to France to help out refugees in England with the Brexit situation. I mean, when I went to see you last time, you were telling me, America's always going on and on about Trump, but you guys have your own battles, and just like America with the UK, the politicizing of whether you wear a mask or how you bail people out or don't, and it's. You guys are also having a really hard time, aren't you?
Yeah, there's a darkness about the world which I certainly haven't felt in my lifetime, and it's a sort of conduit of nastiness which is Of course it's left-leaning. You know, we may be kind of lunatic lefts or Marxist noodle brains or whatever, but the thing is that the thing that we put at the forefront is not money, it's not power, it's not this kind of empty longing to be the best of everything, and that excludes people's lives. Kindness is out of the window, empathy is out of the window, and it all comes hurtling into view again. And it knits together all over the world, you know. So Trump, Boris Johnson, thankfully not Marine Le Pen in France, but this, you know, certainly Bolsonaro. It's dreadful, absolutely ghastly, and it feels to me like there's a resistance movement which is being quashed even further by. At the moment, you've probably seen in the news, you know, the BBC are struggling at the moment because. Of the burning of the books, of the arts, of comedy, of literature. It's all sort of getting a little bit sort of controlled by the right wing, and that we're not representing the left to middle, left to centrist faction in the arts. So what the hell is good art if it isn't reactionary, you know? And you're not really going to react unless you are a person of center to left, frankly, I think.
Right. Art in general is about using that part of your brain and saying something meaningful. Yeah. So you were in lockdown for a long time, and you've just started to do a couple shows lately. Is that right?
Yes, I did. We did a live stream. Claire Martin and I did a live stream from Ronnie Scott's, which was great. Odd but great. She was very nervous. She said, "What if they need an encore?" And I said, "Who's they, darling? Who's they?" The whole world. Can we have an encore, please? No, that was really good fun. And then last week I did 3 shows at Crazy Coq's, which is a beautiful gem of a venue in Piccadilly here in London, which puts on a whole array of music from show stuff to poetry, mostly music, comedy, and jazz.
Crazy Coq's is below. You go take stairs down a cafe. It's like you how on earth would anyone ever find that venue? You're in a cafe, and then you kind of go through this area. It's really, really narrow, and then you get to the stairs, and it widens out, and it turns into like the the American bar. Yeah,
you got it. Yeah, it's a beautiful room. It holds about, I don't know, 100 people, maybe 110 people. It's half capacity at the moment, which felt kind of okay, you know, as long as nobody sneezes. Or gets drunk and then forgets not to sneeze or something. It's so remarkable.
Hey, did you notice that people tell you to sneeze in your elbow, and then when they say no, they touch elbows?
Oh, I didn't think of that. I do the whole.
So Claire,
I've had a nervous cough since I was 7. You know, I'm cough for a living.
Yeah, Claire Martin's someone you've worked with a lot. BBC Jazz Awards, you guys hosted together. Right?
Yes.
And you've done some concerts together? Yeah,
she's an extraordinary, you know, we kind of come from a very similar background, really, sort of working class parents, and you know, I have a sister, she has a brother, she's a couple of years younger than me, but we have the same sort of ethos, not necessarily just about music, but about life and friendship and casting the net, and she's very, very brilliant and very funny and very witty and a superb jazz singer.
Yeah, I love her voice. Is it true? Was she damed or did she met the Prince Charles and stuff, right? I'm trying to remember a story. I think he said something to her about liking John Coltrane.
Oh, she received her gong from Prince Charles. She's Claire Martin, OBE. Order of the British Empire. Not my thing, but I love it when my friends are happy, so that's good. Prince Charles, probably look down the list. I mean, he and Princess Anne are the more diligent, I think, of the royal family. You know, they take care with who they're about to meet, I hope, anyway. Princess Anne gave me my university degree, and I was just so fascinated as how she could speak without actually opening her mouth. But that's congratulations. Yeah, he'd done his research and he saw the word jazz and he maybe Googled jazz and up came John Coltrane. I've never seen him hanging out. I've never seen him hanging out at Ronnie Scott's bar with a Brandy Alexander.
your show at Ronnie Scott's is so good, and Ronnie Scott's is my favorite jazz club in the entire world.
Oh,
I've never seen, because it's actually kind of large, but it feels like you're in a tiny room with the luckiest people on earth.
Yeah, it can be as big or small as you want it to be, really. I've been in there when I've been singing, or or I've been to someone's gig, and they can draw it into the tiniest little kind of speakeasy piano bar, or you can expand it and imagine that you're somewhere like the Royal Albert Hall or Massey Hall, which is one of my favorite places.
That's a great hall, yeah. They're fixing it right now. They're not changing acoustics, but they're spending a bunch of money.
How's things in Toronto, and in terms of getting breathing again and making the arts available again?
Well, I think overall what's happened here is people embraced the mask quickly. They followed, most people, like, I don't know, 95% followed the guidelines. So there's an element of safety here that I don't see too many places. At the same time, I live in denial in the first place. So I'm maybe not the best one to ask, but we've opened up Jazz Bistro. So Wednesday to Saturday, again, same thing though. We're allowed 50 people in a venue for 200, right? But we're keeping everybody safe. We've got the plexiglass in front of a horn player, and,
oh, have you? Right.
Yeah, but just doing the things you're supposed to do and following the rules. So that's a little light at the end of the tunnel, but of course I can only book trios. You can't have a big band and be 6 feet apart. So occasionally you do a little more, but it's going slow. Weather-wise, everybody's in a great mood because this is the most beautiful time, right? Summer was not too much rain, and right now this is my kind of weather. Late summer.
Summer into fall in that part of the hemisphere is gorgeous, isn't it? It's so crisp and energizing, isn't it, in Toronto?
Exactly, and the fall colors are on the way. So there's hope. Now, there's also probably, scientists say, a second wave. So who knows how we'll deal with it. The government here has been unbelievable. Even the provincial government, who haven't been unbelievable, but they've been not as bad as expected at all, right? They're still specific. But the federal government, I mean, the musicians I know are so grateful that they're not going to be evicted, right? So far, so good. I did have one jazz drummer tell me, Great Bob Scott said, I figured out in June I lost 6 gigs, so I'm up $80.
I know. I mean, the one thing it has made, I suppose, it's made us very aware of kind of moment by moment how incredible it is to engage with, as a musician, how incredible it is to engage. I went to see the Leo Richardson group at a cathedral just across, not far from where I live here, and I burst into tears. I mean, they make beautiful music anyway, but I sat there with some friends of mine, and I was sobbing underneath the combination of glasses, a hat, and a mask is pretty grim, especially if you're sitting in a cathedral listening to jazz. I was an absolute soggy, moist mess, James B. Because the music just bit me. It bit me. I had not heard anything like it for such a long time. It was truly a thing. It makes you realize how important it is and how real it is and how grainy and how reflective it is of all your deepest, darkest concerns about everything and everyone. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know Laurie Cullen. Kurt Elling is a big fan, and she did a cover of Joni Mitchell's Both Sides Now about a week ago, and everybody is like, it's like a puddle with eyes if you're in a room full of people, because it's so sad and so beautiful. And I know you're a fan of Joni Mitchell, and those kinds of songs today resonate maybe a little too much. It feels like things are more, it's like you said, things seem darker now than all that time before. Everything else, maybe just because it was before. I want to think that.
Yeah, I think especially
it's much more serious than looking back.
Yeah, I think especially with the arts, there's been a lot of kind of ruminative time on people's hands, even if they have families and the kids have gone to bed, and you will trawl things, and you remember really that nothing is now. There's no kind of forward thrusting trajectory because it's all happened in the past. So we're looking at things that have already been recorded or written. And, you know, there's this amazing sort of font of awareness that something like Both Sides Now, which was written, gosh, what, over 40 years ago, probably more actually, I think. And, you know, don't let them know if that's how you feel, you know. And the whole thing about questioning your life at such a young age, you know, right. I mean, for me, when Vince Mendoza surrounded Joni Mitchell with that arrangement when she was 60 and she dropped an octave and sang it, she just started to sort of prick our tear ducts then. But now, with, as you say, Lauren doing it now freshly, it must really, really mean something.
It really does. And I'm thinking about places, like you did a record at Abbey Road, right? So I'm thinking about, like, in London right now, what opens and what, they're probably allowed to do recordings by now, right?
Yeah, there's one of the big studios, Air, has sadly bitten the dust, but Abbey Road opened, I think, 3 weeks ago. And I've seen bits of film of people going in there to record, you know, at the safe distancing thing. And Abbey is even Studio 2 in Abbey Road 2, which is where we recorded the album in 2011 or something. Even it's a huge, expansive space. My worry about this at the moment is not just what used to be called sidemen, so people that play in lots of different combinations who found themselves with no self-generated work.
Right.
And the other, reducing numbers on stage is always going to be a bit tricky economically for someone who's got a family and a mortgage to pay. But also the small studios, which were kind of just about coming back into the fore again, have had to close their doors unless there are just one or two people in there, you know. And the great thing about the small studios is that cramming a big band in a room and recording it in a live room, in a room that really is just no bigger than this living room, is the fun of it.
Right.
You know? Yep. So now that has to change. It has to change. And let's just hope that a balance is struck that keeps the second wave not as vicious as it probably could be, because of course obviously we're politicizing it at the moment. And I mean, we've had, as you have in Toronto, you know, the mask deniers and people who call the mask, you know, nappies or, you know, diapers or something. Come on, everyone, let's just do our best. Let's not be nasty about a potential virus, you know, killer virus. So yeah, so to your question, the studios are just creeping back into view again, and let's hope that remains. You know, there's hope in the air, I think, as well as all the doom and gloom.
Right. And what about clubs? Have you lost any good jazz clubs, or is everything just on hold?
Yeah. Some of the independent clubs are starting to really now realizing that they're not going to be able to open their doors for a very long time, if at all. The beautiful Montmartre in Copenhagen has finally shut its doors. It's been there since 1958. Wow. You know, all the greats have played there.
Of course, right.
You know, so
that's terrible.
Yeah.
A few clubs here too. Nothing major so far, but some beautiful little rooms.
Fingers crossed.
A lot of restaurants, a lot of places that just. One club I know said, the woman says, "Look, I got this club to have jazz and food. I'm not only going to have food. If I can't get that music back soon, I might have to close down." So it's, I feel that it's coming from. Like we're here when it comes to the arts. It's very, very hard. Meanwhile, everybody is listening to music, watching movies, and reading books. So maybe the arts are important, right?
Yeah, maybe they are. I mean, Schitt's Creek, I watched 3 episodes. My brain can't cope with this at all, you know, but I love...
Isn't that a great bunch of characters?
Yes. Unbelievably believable in a way. But I did enjoy Mrs. America. I thought that was a magnificent piece of work. Just to see Cate Blanchett and Tracy Ullman, you know, it was phenomenal. We do. Yeah, the clubs. There's a whole thing about, you know, if you look at any period in history, there's kind of regeneration comes out of decay sometimes. So the decay happens and then people kind of bounce back. And the great thing about the jazz community worldwide is that it's so small. and it's so we all know each other. You know, we're musicians, promoters, broadcasters, journalists, and I just hope that there's some sort of resistance that will happen that can show us a way of getting it all back on board again, and it not taking 5 years. You know, let's just hope. I don't know. It's hard. I miss all the kind of all the sort of irrelevance around all the gigs, being on the road. I miss stopping off at the garage for a coffee. I miss checking into a hotel. All the things that I really hated before, I'm beginning to miss. I miss getting on a plane. You know?
Right. When you're on planes all the time, you wish you didn't have to be on planes, but when you're not allowed on one, you want to go somewhere.
Oh man, I mean, we were going to be in Detroit, Chicago, probably back in New York, doing the Big Blind, you know, Cecile McLaurin Salvin was mooted to be doing it as well, I think. And you know, it was a project that was so built on passion and love and commitment to the idea, and it seemed that it was going really well, and then lockdown happened. But you know, these are a million stories. You know, I live right in the middle of theatre land here. You know, we have the finest theatre in the whole world. They are not open. They're not open. A lot of my friends who were in long sort of casts of long-running shows or shows that just got off the ground, suddenly found themselves with absolutely nothing to do whatsoever. You know, apart from appear on a TV show once every 2 weeks and talk about the demise of theatre, including Judi Dench, who famously said, "Well, I don't think I'll ever work again." You know,
right?
You know, so it's not just music. I think the theatre actually struggles more because there's a lot more. There's a bigger family involved in theatre, and there's a lot more to lose, I think. So you can't really self-generate a project unless you've got your team around you. You know, lighting, crew, electricians, director, tour manager. You can kind of get on. I could go down there with my keyboard here and just knock out a few tunes and might make, you know, $20 if I'm lucky, 20 quid. But you know, it's hard for actors, I think, much harder.
I agree. And the other thing is, even if they can want to act, well, they can make a video on a screen like this, but they're not doing theater. They're not with a cast with all the elements. It's just not the same. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Big Blind. So I talked to Dee Dee Bridgewater recently. She said the feeling in America is so weird right now. She's very seriously considering packing up and going back to Paris.
Right.
She's in New Orleans right now. Kurt Elling mentioned that, the Big Blind is kind of obviously on hold. And have you seen Melodygardeaux lately? I'm thinking about some of our mutual friends.
I would pay for her meal, her flight, her champagne requirements, everything she needed to spend one evening in a bar in Soho with Melody. Yeah, I had not seen her. No, I spoke to her about, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. Is she okay? Where is she?
Okay, but I don't know where she is. I haven't spoken to her for a few months, but she is pretty much the smartest and weirdly cutting-edge, funniest person. I don't think most people in the world know all of the bliss that is Melodygardeaux. She's a riot. And you two get up to some funny shenanigans together when you're making music.
I'm afraid we do. Yeah, she is what Noel Coward used to describe as vivid.
Vivid.
Yes. But she's so unique, you know, and that's the thing about thumbprint. That's the thing about good art, is that, you know, there's only one Melodygardeaux. There was only ever one Billie Holiday. There was only ever one Kate Bush. Only ever one Dustin Hoffman. It goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah. I see Melody's influence in Billie Eilish. I'd say about a dozen young singers right now, and it's that little bird in her. It's that how she can bring things so tiny.
Yeah.
And then message comes out clear as a bell, but it's sometimes she gives such a little breath. It's quite something.
I agree. I mean, the whole thing about making things small in any art form is so. Line drawings, you know, the famous Picasso, for example. are so, I mean, you know, I can't stop looking at them really sometimes. Yeah, that kind of the refinement of not being over-egging the pudding, you know, at any point really. Much like your bookcase, James. Much like your bookcase.
I love that when we talk, this is like a normal interview or conversation we'd be having anyway. So
let's do some bookcase work.
Oh, there you have lots of books.
Chaotic bookcase, yeah.
I love the kind of casualness, but I have to tell you, we need to get you back here in 2021. We've got to put COVID's ass so you can come and perform. I have told people who know your music but haven't seen you live, I said, when you mentioned Noel Coward, this is what got me on this tangent. You can tell a fart joke and then you can break someone's heart. Like your humor can go anywhere and then right into a song where everybody lets go. Another Laurie Cullen reference. You and her both did Alone Again Naturally, one of the saddest songs ever written in the history of the world. Right?
Oh, did Lauren record that?
Yeah, I'll have to send you a copy of that one. But I'm curious right now. So you say you're writing some songs. Is your kind of message, is it going to change a little, or are you going to like keep the humor? It must be a bit of a balancing act right now. If you're performing.
Yeah, I've been concentrating more on speaking, really. I have a podcast. I mean, every middle-aged man surely has a podcast in them, least of all in the lockdown.
Here we
are. It's been brewing. In fact, Jamie Safir, the talented pianist, writer, is going to be producing it. We've got a composer to do the music. It's three things. It's to do with a memory of a person. So the first one is Mark Murphy.
Wow.
Yes.
You've been with him. You worked with him before, right?
Oh wait, I did.
I loved Mark Murphy. I still love his voice so much.
Yeah, no, that's me a long time ago, and that's me looking like I'm doing some sort of hairdressing thing. But
why? I didn't know you were in the Human League.
The whole point of me ruffling around here is to find this, which was taken by David Sinclair, which is Mark and I on stage.
Wow.
In London, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
that guy breathes jazz, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's Andy Hamill there on bass, wonderful bass player. And you know, as the years roll by, I kind of miss him more and more, really, because I find that I'm sort of not turning into him, but I find a lot of the stuff that he was thrilled by outside of music, I'm thrilled by as well. So just tiny observations of things, you know, pieces, little bits of poetry, situations, tension and release, you know, getting tired and then becoming completely exhausted, not sleeping at all, you know, whiskey. I've discovered I like whiskey in my old age, single malt.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark Murphy, I really miss it. So the podcast is a portrait of a friend, either still here or gone elsewhere, a moment in time. So the first episode, which is the pilot, is in fact a story about Calais, the jungle. But it's funny. It's not all doom and gloom. Mm-hmm. And then the third part is about my mouse, my house guest, who is now finally been released into the Imperial Museum Gardens after a fight and he's the only mouse that I finally caught in the humane mouse trap with a combination of Nutella, stinky cheese, and peanut butter. Got him in, wrapped him in a tea cloth, took him in my flip-flops in the pissing down rain, over to the museum, let him out, and the little fucker had a little run around, and then he decided he wanted to go back into the trap for some reason. Because he was obviously on a good deal in this beautiful apartment.
With all the food in the trap too, right?
Yes, and I'm partial to a biscuit, so you know he knows where I sit.
Sweet story. No, I imagine you with the mouse going, "I'm not going to kill you, but you can't live in my house. You're not paying rent. I'm putting you somewhere else."
It's exactly that. That's the story. So it's a very alluring sort of trilogy, trinity, triumvirate, triptych. That's the word I'm looking for, of stories. So there's nothing serious there. It's not my usual political angst, ranty stuff. It's not music. It's called Not Even Music is the podcast.
Oh, cool.
So I'm kind of writing words more than I'm writing lyrics to songs or music.
Yeah, just wondered, I asked Kurt the same question, Kurt Elling the same question about just how do you you got to address the elephant in the room, which is politics right now and COVID. But then how do you keep the show in a way light and entertaining, but you still have to at some point juggle all of this?
I think for your fans, I mean, I never say that word in conjunction with my own work, but you know, they are out there and they're extremely loving and extremely loyal. So the 3, you know, reduced capacity shows, you get a feel of who's coming because they tell you online. The people who are there, they're desperate to make a connection beyond just the music and the kind of stage barrier thing. Yeah. And then afterwards, they'll do like mini reviews of your shows. You know, I'm so lucky in my life to have made that connection with people that like what I do. You know, as an actor, a comedian, or a singer. And let's hope now, as a veritable middle-aged bonkers podcaster.
Right. Well, you didn't just host a Jazz Awards; you also won a couple too. So I think you're renowned throughout Europe as being that cabaret but first jazz singer. Like you walk that line beautifully.
Oh, you mean my doorstops? Hang on.
What? Really? Literally?
You mean my doorstops, like that one? Every door needs an award.
Well, I love you, man. Thanks for making time for me. I will continue to play your music with wild, joyous abandon.
I miss you hugely, Jaymz B. Have a wonderful ease on down the lockdown.
And I love seeing you. We'll get you here in 2021, I'm sure.
I can't wait.
I'm checking out your podcast, and I'm always listening to you on Ronnie Scott's radio show. So.
Thank you, Jaymz. Give my love to everyone.
I will.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.